What's up, and welcome back to another episode of the Relationship School's Smart Couple Podcast. I'm your host, Jayson Gaddis. Grateful to be here. Let's do this. This is a podcast for men and women and wherever you are on the gender binary that want to have great partnerships, long-term relationships, and just great relationships in general, okay? We explore sex, love, intimacy. We interview experts. I just jam sometimes. My wife and I jam. And we just share whatever we can to help you in your relationship life, okay? Yeah. So here we are. In the last episode, we're doing a series on men, for men, by men, right? So this is for you guys. And in part one, we explored the three types of men in partnership. And I challenged you to say, which one are you? All right, the wimp, the wounded guy, or the warrior? Which are you? And obviously, all of us are all three, but very few of us, I'm guessing, live in the warrior seat most of the time because life's hard, challenges come, relational, money, work challenges, whatever they are, and we can go into this kind of place of either wimp, collapsing, or warrior posturing where we defend ourselves and we don't own our part and all that, okay? So go back and listen to that if you haven't already, because we're gonna build off each episode here, all right? This is very important. In this episode, we dive into why men have closed hearts and why I had a closed heart. And later we get into the cost of that, the extreme cost, such as toxic masculinity, and what to do about it is where we're eventually heading here. Now, we're also doing a free live webinar for men, relationshipschool.com/webinar if you want to come hang with us. If you're a woman, you can come too, but it's directed for men, all right? This is going to help you men get more empowered in your relationship life, all right? I'll explain more later. So I want to talk about this big problem that's going on in the culture, right? There's a lot since the Me Too movement, and probably from the beginning of time, people have had problems with men. We just act like complete assholes and jerks sometimes, right? I certainly do. And it gets extreme, and we see it in our politics, we see it in corporations, we see it in the news, we see it with celebrities who are going down left and right, male spiritual teachers who are sleeping with their students and taking advantage of female students. Okay, and then we just see it in our own homes, right? You just might be living with a guy with a closed heart who's disconnected and shut down. Or you might be a husband who's kind of shut down right now. You might be a single man, and part of your problem is you have a hard time opening your heart. And so women leave you. Or you're still in your strategy of being a nice guy, trying to get what you want in a relationship, but you're acting kind of like a little boy still in that old pattern, right, of people pleasing. Whatever the case, this episode is all about the closed-hearted man. What is going on here? I really want all of us listening, all of you listening, to have compassion and understanding for men. All right, why we are such assholes, why we stay shut down, why we won't do the work, on and on and on, all right? So that's what this episode is about. Okay, so let's dive in. Okay, growing up, most of you know I was sensitive, emotional, and empathic, right? I was just that kid. I would cry easily. I felt sorry for other kids and dogs and animals. When they got hurt, I couldn't shoot anything. The first bird I killed with a BB gun, I started sobbing. I was just that kid. But my environment trained me pretty quickly that part of me was not okay. It wasn't cool. It wasn't welcome. So I buried it. I did my best to stuff it in exchange for connection, approval, love, and not being rejected, right? So I teach this in the relationship school. That's one of our core human injuries here. And we talk about attachment and how to deal with that. But in this episode, I'm just going to kind of just talk about this rift that happens for a little boy when he's young, and through my story, right? So that happened. I became quickly hip to the fact that, okay, it wasn't cool. My sensitivity, emotions, not cool. Stuff them. Well, what do people like? What do people want? What do the peer group want? My coaches, like, okay, I can't be that kid that's crying out on the soccer field or I'm going to not get picked. I'm going to be benched, right? I'm not at recess. I'm going to get made fun of or bullied if I'm crying. So, okay, I can't cry here. So I got to act tough and fast and strong to get picked by the other boys. And that's what girls like, I think. They like boys who are good at sports, and they only like the best boys. So the kids who kind of aren't that competitive and are kind of sensitive, they don't like, maybe. So I better, again, not show that because I want to be liked by girls. So you start to see that a little boy has just some narrow options here. And William Pollack wrote about this in a book called Real Boys. And I wrote about this in my master's paper in graduate school about the disconnected male and the root of it. So that's just what I'm talking about here. So the boy code is really the reason you have a closed heart as an adult man. What do I mean by that? It means that if you rewind the tapes, you probably got trained like me out of your sensitivity. But you know as well as I do, and your wife or ex-wife or girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, someone in your life knows that you're as sensitive as me or as they are, right? Someone who's seen your true colors when you're willing to let that part of yourself out. And your irritability and your posturing over it and your defensiveness is just a sign of how fucking sensitive you are, okay? So bro, I'm kind of calling you out here. So rewind the tapes and look back in your own life. And you're going to see that, especially in America, but probably all over the world, you got hazed and treated a certain way to stay in line. And in line with what? In line with your gender. Okay, if you're a boy, you need to act and behave this way. Don't cry. Don't show emotion. Don't act weak, and emotions are weak. Don't act like a girl. Okay, because that's going to get you into trouble. Don't act gay, because that's going to get you into trouble. Just act straight and narrow. Be tough. Be strong. Get in line. And when you step out of line, we will haze you. We will criticize you. We will belittle you. We will make fun of you in indirect ways, in direct ways. So an indirect way is we won't pick you on the team. We will turn away from you. And that will be our rejection. We won't maybe make fun of you directly, but we'll turn away from you. Okay, in your home, maybe just look at your relationship with your dad. Was he cool with your emotions, or did he shut you down? Was he like my dad and he said, I'll give you something to cry about? Did you get comments like, you're acting like a crybaby? Stop pouting. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. All right? And then when you went to your mom for emotional support because your dad was too tough, maybe you got labeled mama's boy. Right? Notice how mama's boy is bad, but daddy's little girl is cute and cool. Mama's boy is definitely something you don't want to do as a boy, right? God forbid you go to your mom for emotional support because she can actually hang with your emotions. Most moms can. And so most moms rightfully want to support their boy if he's feeling sensitive and emotional, especially if you grew up with a stern father like me who wasn't hip to emotions and did not like them. But then you're going to risk ridicule and being made fun of by the other boys. So maybe it's okay at home because no one sees you. But if you ever went to your mom in public and you were crying, boom, you're a fucking mama's boy. You're a pussy. You're weak. You're a girl. You're acting like a sissy. Ouch. Okay, so let's just look at how men indoctrinate each other with the boy code, and it eventually turns into the man code, right? So little boys don't call each other pussies. They call each other girls. And girls are bad and wrong and the thing to run away from, and the boys get together and make fun of girls for being girls. But when you become 20 or 21 or 25 or 18 or 16, that's how you put down another boy. You call him a pussy. Okay, the extreme is cunt, right? That's another way you can put down a man. You can also put down women this way too. I recognize that. But this is, again, I'm just talking about how men keep each other in the gender box, right? We can also, another big put down for men is to call them limp, right? You're limp. You're a fucking limp dick. All right? So you're not just a dick, you're a limp dick. Because we want to insult the most vulnerable place. If I have erectile dysfunction, someone calls me limp dick, that's going to sting. Because I already feel shame, right? Okay, so let's look at a few practical examples in the culture of how men keep each other in this gender box, right? What I think Pollack called the gender straitjacket, or maybe it was Michael Kimmel. So rappers, let's look at rappers. I love hip hop, certain kinds of hip hop. I do not like hip hop that's aggressive toward women or gay people, all right? I like Eminem in small doses, but he is a classic example of someone who has put down gay people over and over in his hip hop language. It's sad because he doesn't need to do that to still be a badass at hip hop, right? At rapping. And his beats are really fun and incredible. But then you start putting down women and gay people, I'm probably not going to listen to you. Okay, so hip hop artists, along with just, again, grown men in all kinds of contexts, also use the word little bitch. Okay, you're going to be my little bitch. And we all know what little bitch refers to. It means you're a woman and I am the dominant male and I'm going to take advantage of you or step on you or whatever. I'm subordinate over you. I dominate. Okay. Yeah. So, hip hop culture, it's everywhere. And then this is what's interesting is, I was in a college fraternity and I was in a very intense hazing college fraternity. And I got hazed intensely, and I hazed other men intensely. There were moments where we were naked, other men were naked. And again, what you do when you haze men, besides stuffing them full of alcohol and depriving them of sleep, is you make fun of their character. You insult every feature you can. So if a man has like a smaller penis, you make fun of that. You call him small dick, little penis. There's all sorts of metaphors, right, you can think of when you think of a man with a small penis. And you put him down as hard as you can there. And you definitely call him a pussy. So you use misogynistic language to put him down. And I was called that. I can't tell you how many times I've been called a pussy in my life. And how many times I've called other men a pussy prior to waking up. So very pervasive in male culture, and in certain male cultures, it's even more pervasive. Sports teams, any aggressive thing, competitive thing, any competitive culture where it's male only, like business even, men will call each other pussies. So there's case in point, there's two highly, highly influential male entrepreneurs. You would recognize their name if I mentioned them, and I'm not going to, who make over $100 million a year and have huge social media followings on Instagram, Facebook. And they motivate other young male entrepreneurs by using pussy and bitch language. So they will say regularly on their podcast, stop being a pussy and just fucking step up and do the work. And do the work in an entrepreneur world means, work hard, work 60 or 70 hours a week, study what you can, and just go be successful. And then another guy I stopped listening to eventually, because he again, I have a lot to learn from this guy. But over and over hearing this language too much, I was like pretty turned off. I was like, okay, I just can't listen anymore. And so he was saying, writers would come in, people would write into him, and he would see it as complaining, and he'd be like, stop complaining and being a little bitch and fucking step up and do the work, and man up is another one, and do the work. This is how highly influential, successful people males still motivate other males. This is, no matter how far we've come as a gender, we are still very stuck here. And why do men do this? Again, to keep you in your gender box, because if you complain Or if you're not working hard, or if you feel tired, or if you feel like you're insecure and you doubt yourself, you're a girl, you're a woman, and that's bad and wrong. I mean, this is ridiculous, right? But this is the deal. I was even at a highly influential, I'll just say semi-highly influential conference with a lot of male entrepreneurs, and there were some females there, but male entrepreneurs, and I had a question, and some guy called me a little bitch. He just said, "You got to stop acting like a little bitch." I was like, okay. Wow. It's intense. Okay, I'm reading a business book. Here's another example. And this is from a self-aware guy. So this self-aware guy, who strikes me as pretty self-aware, he's writing a business book, and business books are largely for men. More men buy business books than women. And he's talking to the male reader, right? So he says, he's talking about emotional intelligence. And he's talking about how to be emotionally intelligent with your team. Because emotional intelligence is a little more hip now, right? It's a little more acceptable in the workplace. So he's talking about this, but he has to preface it with, don't worry, this isn't going to be too touchy-feely. Or don't worry, you don't need to be too touchy-feely when you talk to your team. Don't worry, this isn't going to be like a therapy session. So why is he doing that? He's protecting other men from their guard going up because he wants to be heard. So he has to talk to men so as to not turn them off, or they won't listen to him. If the male reader thinks he's too touchy-feely, they're going to tune him out and shut the book. Interesting, right? Not at all. When you understand male conditioning, this is how it works. So men will actually, smart men who are awake or very awake, will, when they're talking to a man who hasn't done work on himself, they preface things all the time. And I've done this. You've probably even heard this on the podcast. When I'm talking to men, I might need to make some preliminary statement so as to not lose their ears, right? I want them to keep listening. So I might need to say, hey, don't worry, guys, you're not going to get made fun of when you talk about your emotions. It's safe here. Like, I want you to talk about your emotions. Because they're still in this prison from their childhood onward that has said, if you fucking go there, you're going to get ridiculed and made fun of. And we will reject you. We will criticize you. We will humiliate you. We will shame you for having emotions and being sensitive. Okay, here's another really interesting example. Check this out. So in the NBA, the National Basketball Association league, the professional basketball here in the United States, there was a guy named Rick Barry. And Rick Barry is famous for being the most successful free throw shot guy in the league. In his professional career, he drained 89.3% of his free throws. He led the NBA in free throw percentage the last 3 seasons of his career, topping out at 95% in 1978 and 1979. The NBA average now, or as the time of this article, was 76%. So he was almost 20% higher by throwing the ball underhand. That's the granny shot. And remember, notice the language. It's a granny shot. If you're a boy playing basketball and you shoot underhanded, you get, oh, he made a granny shot. That's not how you shoot the ball, because you're acting like a girl. That's how girls throw the ball. And you don't want to be a girl, so you better not throw the ball like that. So even though every male in the NBA knows that the granny shot, the underhanded free throw shot, is more effective and will score more points, 99.9% of the men don't shoot the ball that way at the free throw line. Now, Wilt Chamberlain, who was famous for scoring the most points in any game in history, he scored over 100 points in one game. This is also the character that supposedly slept with 20,000 women, self-proclaimed, which is a whole nother story. He tried the, quote, granny shot for one season and upped his percentage from 10 points, which is from 51% to 61%. But, and this is a guy, Wilt Chamberlain is very tall. The tall guys in the NBA are historically and notoriously not great free throw shooters. So, someone encouraged him to shoot underhand to get more points. So he said, okay. And he tried everything else, right? He even went to a psychiatrist, supposedly, to try to improve his free throw shooting. But he did it for one season, increased it by 10%, but he never went back to the, quote, granny shot again because he said, quote, I felt silly. Quote, like a sissy, end quote. He wrote that in his autobiography. In other words, I'm not going to keep shooting the ball this way because I'll be judged as a sissy, which a sissy is basically a girl or a woman, and I don't want to be labeled and judged that way. So I'd rather score 10 points lower and maybe even lose the game than risk humiliation. And notice how all the men in the NBA agree to this. Like, hey, let's just agree that we're all going to shoot overhand, then it's kind of fair. But if any of us shoots underhand, you have the advantage, and we're going to make fun of you until you stop doing it. Except Rick Barry was courageous enough to continue to shoot that way his whole career and said, fuck everybody. That's pretty cool that he had the courage, right? But it's so pervasive. That's 99% of the male culture, I would say, is this is just a fractile of what's going on in the larger male culture, this NBA example. Whew. Okay, so those are some examples of how men indoctrinate each other from a very young age, and they continue to do it through adulthood. You just call men pussies. You call them gay. You call them weak. You call them sissies. You call them women. Oh, one more example. I was a golfer growing up. I was on a golf team. And if you're on the putting green and you hit the ball softly and it didn't quite go in, it was like too short of a putt, everyone I surrounded myself with in my culture of golf would say, nice job, Alice. Why don't you hit it, Alice? What does that imply? It means you're hitting it like a woman. You're hitting it like a girl, and that is bad and wrong, and you're not as strong because it didn't go as far. And so that's how you make fun of another man who didn't putt it hard enough. And then men join in the laughter. Nice work, Alice. Or, hey, you're acting like a skirt. That's another kind of side one. I got called a skirt a lot because, again, I couldn't contain my sensitivity all the time, right? I protected people sometimes, and then I got called a skirt because I cared. Whew, damn, this is thick, right? So before you judge a man that has a closed heart, try to remember this, please, that he was likely a boy who got criticized over and over for his sensitivity and his emotions. So why in the hell, as an adult man, would he open up his heart and reveal his sensitivity and emotions? Because he's going to get shat on. He'll get humiliated. He'll get shamed. So some men will, that are courageous enough, will do it at home within a female partner or a partner, but they still in the workplace, they definitely won't do it because it's not safe, right? And they won't do it on the sporting field, at the gym, anywhere else. They're not going to open their heart, but they might with an intimate partner. That's great. That's a good step. But what I'm saying to you guys is you can be even more of a warrior and courageous, because the more you keep your heart closed in those settings, the more you are subordinating to this indoctrination around how men treat each other. And the more you're agreeing to it, and the more you're saying to your son or all the other men, it's okay. It's okay to continue to make fun of women and gay people and be misogynistic as hell in service of keeping us all in line. All right? But I'm here to tell you, guy listening, if this is you, you are operating at half capacity, okay, like I was. And basically, let's just unpack this a little more. you are masculine and feminine. You have both inside of you. Okay, if you don't like that term, you are yin and yang. You are left brain and right brain, all right? It's very clear that there's two polarities to me in the world. There's yin and yang. There's left brain and right brain. Left brain is logical, linear, conceptual. Right brain is emotional, relational, okay, more sensitive, more empathic. You need both to be an empowered man, an integrated man. If you continue to shut down one side of you, that's fine, but you're limited. Not only that are you limited in life, your intimate relationship life is going to suck. And you will, the more you stay closed in an intimate partnership, the more your partner, male or female, whoever you're with, is going to get frustrated. And they're going to start banging down the door of that heart because they want in. They want to be let in. And you don't know how, or you don't want to, or whatever. And I'm telling you, dude, you have got to deal with your closed heart if you want the result in life of a fulfilling life and fulfilling partnerships and relationships. Once I cracked the code on this in myself, holy shit, did my world open up. And I became an emotionally available guy. Like access to my emotions, my superpower that I had shut down since I was a little boy. I got permission and I chose a career where it was fucking cool and okay, which was I became a therapist. So I could listen to other people's emotions all day long and help them get in touch with them. Right? And then I started this relationship school because I want you to have what I've discovered here, which is, wow, my full self. It's so much sexier and better in a partnership to have an emotion, a heart online. Woo! Right? Who doesn't want to be with a guy with an available heart? It's so much more sexy and beautiful and mutual. There's reciprocation and energy and flow that can happen, dynamism. It's just incredible. Right? So, guys, I want to challenge you to stop using misogynistic language to motivate other men. And when other men are using that toward you, walk away or move to a different friend group that can actually handle this, all right? Some of those men are too shut down and closed off to change. They'll roll their eyes. They'll do everything they can to protect their own prison. They don't even know they're doing this. But men who get, oh, okay, pussy, okay, whatever, fag, oh, Mr. Sensitive, they will make fun of you, and they don't even know that they're defending the territory of the prison that they're in. They're actually keeping themselves in handcuffs with a gender straitjacket that's zipped up very tight. They don't even know. They're blind to it. So let them continue to stay in that box. That's fine. But I'm telling you, burn that shit down. Break free from the shackles of your conditioning, please. Okay, for my son, for my daughter, I'm showing my kids how to be an adult male who has a heart. Because there's plenty of men out there who have closed hearts who are fucking shit up in a negative way. Please be the warrior that has the courage to open your heart, okay? Like one of my mentors, Chogyam Trungpa said, all right? Warriorship. That's what that requires, warriorship. Because you're going to have to risk. Here's the thing. If you do the work, you're going to have to risk getting hurt again. But guess what? Getting hurt is not a good enough reason to keep your heart closed the rest of your life. Sorry. No. This is your life at stake, dude. This is your life force. You need that heart for fulfillment. If you got kids, your kids need a father, a dad's heart. Okay? They need both parts of you, the left brain and the right brain, the masculine, the feminine. It's in you. I wouldn't bother or waste too much time denying that. You've been conditioned, okay? That's what's going on with a closed-hearted man. Conditioning. That's all it is. Okay? Whew. All right. I feel grateful that you're listening still. And let's help the brothers out there. Let's help the men, all right? And if you're a man, thank you for being the kind of man that would listen to this and go, right. Okay? Finally, I'm going to leave you with, this is not your fault, but it is your problem. Let me say that again. This is not your fault that you have a closed heart, that you've been hurt from a very young age as a boy, that your sensitivity got, shamed out of you or whatever. It's still in there. It ain't your fault. But now your closed heart is your fucking problem. Do something about it. Stare yourself in the mirror today. Here's your action step. Stare yourself in the mirror today and say, I am going to deal with my closed heart. I commit. Okay, you want to up the ante? Get one close male friend in your life and saying, dude, I'm tired of subordinating to my conditioning, and I am going to go on a journey to find myself and to reconnect to my essence and my integrity, my deep, deep integrity, which is, I'm sensitive. I'm empathic. So what? If guys don't like it, if women don't like it, whoever doesn't like it, I don't care. Because I'm going to make my own health my priority. Why do you think heart disease is the number one killer in men in the US? To me, my theory is simple. It's because guys are disconnected from their heart. They're closed. When you have a closed heart, it dies. No wonder heart disease is the number one killer in the US and actually in the world. But in the US, of course. Your life depends on it. Your life depends on this. Okay, go to relationshipschool.com/webinar if you want to get on a live call with me, get more downloads like this, and ask a question like, how the hell do I deal with this? Okay, fine. You got me. What do we do now? Great. We're going to talk about that a little bit in future episodes here on this men's series. Okay, stay tuned. Next time, we're going to talk about toxic masculinity and Me Too. Then we're going to talk about how the hell do we deal with this problem as a man. All right. So come join the live webinar, April 25th, noon Mountain Time. If you're listening to this later, after that time, it's okay. You can catch a replay. We'll re-release it at some point, especially if you want this information. Okay, and let's do it. Thank you again, women, for listening, for caring and giving a shit about your man, your son, your brother, your father, whoever it is you're listening for. And thank you, men, for being that guy that's going to do the work. Let's do it. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Relationship School fans and Smart Couple listeners, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, all right? Do us a favor, subscribe, share one of these videos with a friend, all right? We want to help the planet get their act together around relationships, and you are one of them, so thank you.